Grand Rising family, this is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Check in. Good morning. Good morning, Grand Rising. Happy Sunday. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Check in, let us know where you're hailing from. We're just going to do a brief podcast this morning to discuss what's going on with these rituals through airplane crashes and NFL games. So check in and we'll talk about how the elites are sending coded messages to each other. Hello, I see you all checking in on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Good morning, Grand Rising. I know it's early Sunday morning. I'm up because I have to, and ready because I have to go to my grandson's basketball game. So I won't be on long, but we just want to talk about some of the things that are going on around us here in America and why so many people, it seems like, are trying to figure out why we've had so many plane crashes. People are also trying to figure out what Trump is up to with these cancellations of DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. What's going on with all this talk about false flag events, deep state events, and rituals. So I see a lot of people online trying to figure out why they're having all of these plane crashes. Well, they told us a while ago to not take plane flights, if you were prone to being afraid or worried or, a little nervous or uncomfortable, because they knew that the deep state or the cabal could stage some type of false flag event or some type of black swan event as we are headed into the golden age. So first, let me just say good morning again and grand rising. I appreciate all of you that are here. We have almost 200 people, in the chat. So thank you so much. I know many people are on their way to services, whether it be church or mosque or just family events. So before we get started, I do want to thank all of you who blessed me and sent me a Cash App blessing while people are checking in through the weekend. Thank you, Ernest. God bless you. Michael George, Kimberly, I appreciate you. Herchandra, Max Ministry, beautiful Max Ministry, and that's Chief Mac, who always makes sure he takes care of me. J. Cole sent me a lovely message that says, I love you. This is for my beautiful sister. Maxine sent me a gift, Blondell as well. Who is this? Tony. Thank you so much. John McWhorter says, thank you for your recent podcast and your intelligence. Also, somebody just sent me a blessing. Thank you, Jonathan Harrison. God bless you. You all are so kind to me. I really appreciate you. Snooky Bay sent me a blessing. Lori Knowsley sent me a Cash App gift. Karen Sullivan White says, thank you, my friend. Who else? Deborah Gutierrez says, thank you. Cynthia Jones said, I appreciate your sacrifice and love. So Metrice Hilton, thank you. Deborah Allen says, thank you for your hard work. Cameron Frederick, Tristan Ely always sent me something that says, thank you, I love you. Tiffany Webb, David Carr, who else? Wendy Sims, Chief Mac again, Dennis Perkins, who always makes sure he chimes in and says, thank you. My son, David, Selah Sadiq, Teresa Reese says, thank you so much. And she appreciated the information about bloodline families, who we think control the world versus those that we know actually control the world behind the scenes. Thank you for the Cash App blessing. Deb Hill, God bless you. I appreciate you. Herchandra, who else? Cynthia Jones, thank you. Keep checking in, family, just to let us know where you're hailing from, because we're going to be brief today. I have to go to my grandson's basketball game. I'm very involved in my grandchildren's lives. It's like being a parent a second time, and I love it. Cameron, again, thank you. Tiffany, thank you. Who else? Carol Mothersall, thank you. My son, Dexter, Lattimore, Philippa Nicholson, Hassandra, all of you all sending me gifts and blessings. I thank you so much. Anthony Newton says, oh, he gave me the meaning of his name, his last name, Newton name. Jaletta, thank you. Delilah Smith, thank you. Kristen again, Hershonda, Monica, thank you. Susan, thank you. Cherise, thank you. Theo Wolford, John Martin, thank you. Barbara Pittman, look at all these soul families sending me gratitude. So Judy Johnson, Martha Blanding, I appreciate you. Sheena, thank you. Chief Mack again, Hershonda, 3 times. Wow, thank you, Cameron. Thank you, my son Douglas. Thank you so much, Teresa, Willie Sims, our Nicholas, Curtania, Sheila, Dennis Perkins again, and Carol Rasher. So thank you also, family, for checking in. I see you guys, oh gosh, from all over the world. Wow, I even saw somebody from Australia. Hit the like button, family, subscribe to the channel. I see my high school girlfriend, Karen Sullivan White. We went to high school together. Her sister, Kelly, was my best friend growing up in Portsmouth, Ohio. So it's always a pleasure seeing people that you grew up with support you. So thank you, Sister Kelly. I appreciate you. And I love you all, family. Thank you, Grand Rising. Shabbat Shalom for those of you who keep the Sabbath on Sunday. Great Rising. Good morning to all. We now have 250 people in the chat. And also, I want to say thank you all so much for those that sent me a message through the weekend. Any Cash App blessings, gifts, phone calls, I appreciate you. And even people that were concerned about what's going on, I thank you so much for sending me your concerns. And I hope you got to catch my last live that I did with the Sheik, also known as Asir, the Duke of Tears. He dropped so many jewels about what's going on as our republic is being restored. So let's get right into the news, family. Good morning. We know that we've had a second plane crash, at least a second big plane crash that occurred in Philadelphia just the other day, and we had some casualties. And so we want to make sure we always pray for the families and we keep positive energy and send it and direct it to all of those that were involved in the plane crash. When it comes to plane crashes, people don't understand why this is happening. The first one was the Black Hawk, which is a military plane crash, a jet that crashed into American Airlines, and that crashed over the airport, the Ronald Wilson Reagan Airport in DC, into the cold waters of the Potomac River. And I already did a deep dive into the coded messages. You don't have military planes. Thank you for the Cash App blessing. To normally, Jonathan Harrison, to know you don't have Cash App. I mean, excuse me. You don't have military planes or jets to crash into civilian airlines. That normally doesn't happen. So we talked about what the coded messages are about that. Notice that Washington, D.C. is the capital of the deep state. And then fast forward to the one we just had recently, where the plane crash involved several people that crashed in Philadelphia. When you look at Philadelphia compared to Washington, D.C., you can see that Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is the capital for the Republic. So this is what I want people to understand and overstand. The deep state and the elites are sending coded messages to one another, okay? This isn't necessarily something that they want us to understand and overstand. This all has to do with the crashing down and the burning down of the cabal and the resurrection and the returning to the republic. And this war is not between humans per se. This war goes way back, further than our history, okay, our current human history. And that's why we don't understand and understand what's going on. This is a war between bloodline families, many of whom are not even human. And I know that's hard for people to understand and understand. And so they could care less about casualties, okay? We're talking about non-humans or extraterrestrials and their human hybrids, many of them who call themselves elite because they've been around for a long time, and their descendants that they've allowed to actually be a part of secret societies and infiltrate every segment of society has very little to do with humans other than enslaving us. So look at the dates and times of events and look at the numerology as well as where these events occur. So I'll pull up right quick this information about the plane crash. And some people say that it didn't even look like a plane crash. Some people say it looked like it was actually a missile. And I'll show you this one site, the site of the Philadelphia so-called plane crash. This is what somebody sent me from Facebook. So look here, this is in Philadelphia. This is an area here. It's showing you, and they're like, I'm not sure a lot of you will agree, but this doesn't look like a plane crash site, is what somebody said when they said this. And then I'm going to show you other missile events. Okay, let me see. I'm going to go to my YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel, go to my community section. I'll show you other sites that look like, these were missiles. And why is this important? Because it looked like it could have been staged, and it looked like it may not have been an accident. And I know that's hard for people to receive, and people tell me not to say those things. They think I'm being insensitive. I'm not being insensitive. I do pray for the families. I just know what we're dealing with. This is a cabal, a deep state. Families that have been in a war for our psyche and a war for our resources for a millennium. So this is what other missile sites look like. This here is what occurred in Philadelphia. Keep checking in, family, and talking to each other. Okay, and this, let me see. Oh my gosh. I thought I put up the others. Oh, let me go to I have to go to a link. I'm sorry. And do you know when I tried to put this up on my community section, they wouldn't allow me to put the links up, and they wouldn't allow me to mention plain sight in the community section when I tried to put up these pictures. So here it is right here, Philadelphia versus other sites. The top picture is Philly, and the bottom three are from missiles from other events. This person says, here you go, trying to see. You see here how it looks like a crater in the earth? So what's going on? Why are they doing this? Why are they trying to cipher our emotional, psychic, and our energy? This is why I always say, family, maintain your energy, okay? Keep an even kiln energy. Keep your emotions in check. You really have to have a high emotional quotient, a high emotional intelligence in order to function in this society. You can choose to turn it off because, the third dimension often does certain things in order to upset people, but we're just casualties of war. They're all talking to each other. They don't care if we emit psychic energy. So what happens when you're traumatized or you're afraid or you're worried or you're concerned about things that are going on around you, or you're traumatized or terrorized, I should say, you emit a psychic energy from your being called loosh, Loosh. That energy is what beings absorb, and they eat it like food. It makes them empowered. Okay, it gives them strength. It's really like the sustenance and food. And that's why we have to either turn it off or just pray for the families and keep it moving. Send gifts or money or whatever and keep it moving. But some of these people that are involved, at least on the mainstream media, in the news, some of them are actors, some of them are crisis actors, some of them are just paid to do certain events. I'm not saying that the people who passed away are actors. I'm saying that a lot of people that are involved are paid to do this. So please keep your emotions in check. Now, we know that the Philadelphia Eagles that will be playing in the Super Bowl will be playing soon. And they will be playing against the Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City. Now, I know Kansas is where Dorothy, the fictional character of the Wizard of Oz, was from, right? And we know that Dorothy went to see the Oz and she got lost. And the way that she could find her way to her destination, where she was going, was follow the yellow brick road. When you look at the story of the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy and all that, there are all type of coded messages. Follow the yellow brick road, talking about bricks and how the bricks nations, you started using gold to destroy the dollar, the United States dollar, which is attached to the central banking system, which is attached to the Federal Reserve, the fake government, the bloodline families. She had on red ruby slippers in the movie, but she had on silver slippers in the book, silver and gold. Silver slippers, ease on down the gold bricks road. They were telling us all along that they only had a certain amount of time. The deep state, the cabal, these bloodline families would be over. Their empire would collapse. The eagle is the symbol of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is the empire that controlled the world. Those are reptilians and other creatures. So the eagles, you can look that up, the eagle is a predatory animal. That's why the Romans chose the eagles to symbolize them. The United States Incorporated has the eagle symbol because the United States Incorporated, or the fake government, actually is a part of the Roman Empire. The Eagles will play against the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember, Kansas is attached to Dorothy, who followed the yellow bricks road with her silver slippers to her destination and then on to home. Any Super Bowl, I've told you, that deals with Indians, Redskins, Chiefs, those are coded messages letting you know that the land is being returned back to the indigenous, aboriginal, or original peoples on the planet. Who are the original people in America? The copper-colored races found here by Christopher Columbus. These copper-colored races, who are also known as indigenous people, had their classification changed from indigenous and original to Negro, colored, Black, and African American, because they were prisoners of war by bloodline families. All the Aboriginal or original peoples all over the planet were first enslaved, and then they intended to go after everybody all over the planet and keep them enslaved. Okay, so the copper-colored races, look at the 1828 Webster's definition of American. It is the copper-colored races found here by Christopher Columbus, but now applied to Europeans. This is why some people get upset with me and they think I'm being racist, but everything has to do with the enslavement of humanity. Doesn't matter what your skin complexion is, but of course they're going to first go after the original peoples. So this is why President Trump keeps talking about American. What is American? Who is an American? He said the Native Americans are not American because they're not. The so-called Native Americans are not indigenous. They're not Indians. They came from Asia. That's why they look Asian. That's why they live in teepees. They were enslaved, and they were also prisoners of war, but they came through the Bering Strait. They made their way here to America, and they were on reservations, but they are not American. They may have to return back home. That's none of my business. I'm just telling you what's happening. So the Eagles will play the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, at the NFL game, because what is it? The Super Bowl, or Super Balls is what we call it, because when you study, I'm going through a lot real quickly, but when you study Frances Cress Welsing, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who wrote the paper called the ISIS Papers, and her mentor, Neely Fuller, who talked about white supremacy and racism, they talked about this system of oppression that we know as white supremacy that was actually given to us. Now, they don't tell you it was given to us by bloodline families. They just talk about racism and white supremacy, but they'll say they gave us this system to suppress and oppress the humans on the planet, beginning with the copper-colored so-called Black people. In Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's book called The ISIS Papers, she talks about the balls, Super Balls, the NFL, soccer, all the balls program is about sexuality and who has the biggest balls, whether it be the dark complected people full of melanin carbon, or the people that came from us or stemmed from us, the people with less melanin that we call our European brothers and sisters, or Caucasians. So in the system of white supremacy, you have them fighting against each other. And the bigger balls program. What are the bigger balls programs? Are you awake, Doug?
Yeah.
What's the bigger balls programs?
The larger ball games are football, basketball, the ones that have brown balls.
The brown balls are the larger ball games, footballs and basketball. The smaller ones are soccer, golf, etc. And then the what is it? The goal is to get the ball inside the net. to get the ball inside the womb. And so there was a race to get the ball inside the womb. I'll do a deep dive on that later. So you will see the Super Bowls or Super Balls is all about getting the ball across the field, the black or the brown ball. We'll go into that, do a deep dive another day because I have to go pick up my granddaughter to go to my grandson's game. You're going to see the Chiefs play against the Eagles. And I predicted this and I told you this 3 years ago that the reason why they do that is because they're returning the republic back to the Aboriginal people, the government, the land, and everything back to the copper colored races and back to the indigenous peoples in America and here all across the globe. So the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. I told you even when the games occurred during January that it's going to all come down between the Chiefs and the Eagles because that's the Aboriginal indigenous peoples and the Republic versus the deep state, United States Incorporated, and the Eagle. Okay. So they're going to clash and they're going to actually make sure you know that it's over for the deep state. And I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. They're all talking to each other and sending coded messages to each other. And they don't care about cash. Human lives be damned as far as they're concerned. They don't care about casualties. Here's what we know about the Philadelphia plane crash, the latest update. All crew and passengers in the medical jet crash were identified, and the death toll rose to 7, which is a number that means completion. The aircraft carried a sick child and 5 other people. It crashed on Friday night, taken off from Northeast Philadelphia's airport, plowing into a residential area. And I showed you that area that actually looked like a missile crash. Okay. Mexican nationals were on board. 1 minute. And it goes on further to talk about that crash. 1 second, family. So it goes on to talk more about the crash, and I'm sorry that I don't have too much time to go over that, but it's all about their return to the republic. So if you can keep your emotions in check, you'll be okay, and just send prayers to the family. When you look at certain numbers, you will see the number 14 occur during some of these events versus the number 41. Just like when we talk about how many government agencies are there, 441. How many feet did this airplane ascend before it collapsed? I think it was 1,400 feet. Okay, 14 represents white supremacists. For white supremacy, 41 represents king. 14 represents white supremacy, 41 represents king. The only way I know this is that I've studied with people who study numerology, people who understand Masonic ways and Freemasonry, and people who understand how they get down. The plane went up to 1,400 feet, then collapsed. White supremacy is 14. You know what? White supremacy will no longer be able to go above 1,400 feet. It won't be able to. It went as high as it could, and then it collided or it collapsed. It crashed. White supremacy is crashing. What is white supremacy? It is an ideology. It is a philosophy that people with white status have more status than people with black status. We think this is about skin complexion. It's about status. Okay, white status means that you are above other people, you are elite, you are the landowners, you are pure. Black status is the status of a slave. It means that you have no standing in law. Now, when the Europeans first came here, they say that the original people, they gave white status because they owned the land. We know as indigenous people, you can't own the land. The land owns you. What I mean by the land owns you, you sprung from the soil. And that's why we talk about who is Aboriginal or what do you call them? Autogenous is a better way to classify people. Autogenous means that the same dirt that's in the colon and the same genetic code that's in the ground, the same genetic code and dirt that's in the ground is the same genetic code and dirt that's in your colon. Original peoples have the same DNA and genetic code as what's in the ground because they sprang from the ground, they sprang from the place. So autogenous, indigenous, aboriginal or original people were later classified as colored, Negro, Black, and then African American. Why Black? Because it means you have no standing in law. But before, the Europeans that came here acknowledged us as having white status because we owned the land, okay? Because we were the people that were the overseers or stewards of this land in America. They lied to us and told us that we're Black. And the people that came from Europe, who came as, remember, the slaves that came from Europe, indentured people came from Europe, criminals came from Europe, with the Moors that came here. Those people were given Black status, and then they switched it around. Why were they given Black status? Because they didn't have any legal standing. They had no rights, okay? And then they colonized or were able to live in the New England area. See, England, because they came from Britain, along with the British Moors or Brutish Moors who populated that region. And they were recognized later as their own nation. And this is why both Trump and Obama said Morocco was the first to acknowledge us as our own nation. They had their own nation, their own ways of doing things, their own ideologies, their own statutes and codes, their own policies, their own flag, their own banner of which we call the American flag, that allowed them to do commerce while on the land. So they were given Black status, and then they switched it around. Okay, when you look up Walter Plecker and other people that were involved in the Census Bureau that switched our identity, they reclassified the original peoples from indigenous to Black, colored, Negro, African American. Again, Black means you have no standing in law. You don't count. And so they have us calling us Black people. Okay, and we think that's something to be proud of. And that's why James Brown was commissioned to sing this song. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, Black power. How can you have no standing in law and have power? It's crazy how they condition our minds. And this is why, allegedly, I have to say allegedly, because now when you fact check it, the news will say it's not true. The White House is now doing away with Black History Month. Let me see if I can find that for you. Keep checking in, family. The White House is not only doing away with Black History Month, but they're also doing away with or barring other special interest holidays. I'll bring it up for you. Let me know what you think about that. In 1 second. My battery's going low. Thank you for all of those of you who are sending me gifts and messages saying you appreciate my work. Thank you for the Cash App blessing. I'm going to just briefly go. Can you add to the stage? Okay. My son decided he's going to bring my granddaughter here so I won't have to travel to get her. And then I'll go on to my grandson's game. So thank you for having 572 people in the chat. I want to show you this screen where the White House canceled Black History Month. Federal agencies bar Black History Month. The article says a number of federal agencies have banned celebrations related to MLK Day, Women's History Month, and other such observances. Even Cinco de Mayo is what I heard as well. They're getting rid of all of those to comply with Trump's executive orders. They're also getting rid of Pride Month that has to do with celebrating homosexual relationships, allegedly. And I'll give you my commentary on why. But this particular article says federal agencies on Friday rushed to comply with President Donald Trump's executive orders aimed at curtailing diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, also known as DEI programs. The executive orders prompted a flurry of memos and emails obtained by NBC News and modified the rules for staff at intelligence agencies in the military and across civilian departments regarding employee resource groups and the celebration of Cultural Awareness Month. This week, the Defense Intelligence Agencies ordered a pause of all activities and events related to Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Black History Month, Juneteenth, LGBTQ Pride Month, Holocaust Remembrance Day, and other special observances in order to comply with President Donald Trump's executive orders, according to a memo obtained by the NBC News. The memo listed 11 observances that are now banned. It also said that all affinity groups and employee network groups are immediately on pause. This directive comes as the Donald Trump administration has made it a top priority to go after any programs perceived to be related to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the federal government. The DIA did not immediately return to a request for comment. Now, when you look up, did Donald Trump or the White House do away with MLK Day or Black History Month? They'll say it's a lie. They're fact checking you and saying that's not true. Okay. Why my commentary, somebody asked me, do I not like white people? Why would you ask a question like, first of all, white is a status, it's not about skin complexion. Okay. Has nothing to do with skin complexion. If you know me, you know that question is kind of weird, considering that my family is a mixture of different peoples from different nationalities and different skin complexions. The so-called patriot community is mixed with all different people. And, some of my closest friends, I sound like a racist now, but some of my closest friends actually, are not original. I'm telling a true story about history. This is about truth. People get emotional because they've been taught a certain way. And then when the truth comes out, they can't handle it. So if you can't handle it, then keep your emotions in check and just learn to listen. So my point with my thoughts about Donald Trump doing away with these special interest celebrations is that you don't need them. Why does anybody have to acknowledge you as being Black or anything else? She knows how to come in. You're not Black. So why do you need Black History Month? You're not Black. You're original. You're the copper colored race that was found here by Christopher Columbus. The whole slavery story was a lie. The Black History Month stories, excuse me, family. Black History Month stories don't tell you about your family stories. The deep state. The deep state gave you Black history. The deep state told you all came from slave ships from Africa. The deep state gave you Martin Luther King, whose real name allegedly is Michael Luther King. Michael Luther King, also known as Martin Luther King, is actually close friends with the Rothschilds. This was all a plot. Okay, to this civil rights movement was all a plot to get the original people here to sell their businesses, stop teaching their own children, come out of their own communities and beg somebody now for a job. So now you don't have your own business. You're begging somebody to educate your children. You're begging somebody to give you work, and you're begging somebody to include you in programs and certain rituals and things that had nothing to do with you as free persons on the planet, on the globe. But if you want to be deemed as a slave and look like as a slave throughout the rest of your life, then you continue to propagate these slave narratives and slave movies and programs that says that you're different from the other Americans here that are in America. So why do you need to celebrate being original? Why do we need to celebrate all of these leaders and heroes that they gave us? Most of them were a part of the deep state anyway, if not all of them. They all were Masonic Freemasons. They all were a part of secret societies, whether it be the Boule, Divine Nine, Masons, all of them. And do you not know that these Black Freemasonic groups or people were supposed to be the, what they call them, the protector of the king. That's what they all were created for, to protect the king. What is the king? White supremacy. What is white supremacy? An ideology. It has nothing to do with skin complexion. It's an ideology that one group is better than another. It's all about, you can say it's about race, but what is race? Racism is not about skin complexion. I keep telling you, my sons study economy, okay, economics. In economics, they actually teach you the truth that race and racism is about a race to resources. Okay, it was more about getting the resources than it was about skin complexion. So I just wanted to let you see that a lot of these celebrations were part of the deep state of the federal government. And the federal government, the deep state, the ego empire, the Roman Empire is collapsing. It's over. That's what the NFL would be about, the Super Bowls or Super Balls game. Who has the bigger balls? The ego empire, the Roman Empire, or the indigenous people, humanity, all of us. Okay. Everybody knows that all man came from the original woman. I don't even know why people think this is about racism. A woman's genetics, mitochondrial DNA, all her genetics, all the codes are in her body, the original woman, because everybody came from the original woman and man, and original woman and man. Okay. So they use this whole thing, racism, sexism, division, classification, in order to enslave our minds. But they're telling you through all these plane crashes that it's crashing, it's colliding. That's why the precursor to all of this was the Supreme Court of the United States overturning the Chevron doctrine. The Chevron doctrine basically said that the deep state, the federal agencies, all these so-called departments, 441 of them, could create their own statutes, codes, policies to enslave all of us. And if we didn't agree to do it, then they would put fines on us and they would send their policy enforcers or police officers after us. The Supreme Court overturned all of that and said it's no longer allowed, it's unlawful, it's illegal, it's unconstitutional. So it has to crash, it has to collapse. That's why you see these plane crashes. Thank you for the Cash App blessing. I appreciate you. HBKLK. That's what's happening, family. So keep paying attention now. Look for certain numbers, 13, 33, 14, 41, 14, white supremacy, 41 kings, 13, they told you was ominous. You should be afraid of it. But 13 is actually about peace, power, and resurrection. Also, another thing you're going to see with Donald Trump doing away with DEI programs, diversity, equity, inclusion. You're going to see a lot of subways closing. Who owns the subways? A lot of American Indians, some of them, a lot of them. And I'm talking about people from East India. They own a lot of subways. They're closing all over the place. Why? They're afraid. Trump is coming down hard on you. He don't care where you come from or what color you are. This is about returning everything back over to true Americans. The copper colored races here, yes, but also the Americans that came from different places that have become nationalized, that everybody has agreed to accept and to be here as long as they can agree to love, truth, freedom, justice, and peace, which are the 5 tenets of the original dynasty that was here before the Europeans came and colonized the whole of America. Thank you, Sister Natasha. So the Supreme Court of the United States overturned all of that. All of it has to collapse. All of it has to crash. Subways are going to close. A lot of gas stations are closing now, and they will continue to close. Who owns the gas stations? A lot of people from the Middle Eastern region who are not Americans. I don't care if you came here and you saw it as an opportunity. If you're not supposed to lawfully be here, you're going to leave. If you're afraid that Trump, the administration, and the extraterrestrials who are behind all of that is now returning things back to the way it should be, you're going to flee. Gas stations are closing, restaurants are closing. I talked about the subways are closing, hotels. Who owns many of the hotels? Not now, almost 50% of hotels are owned by Indians and Middle Easterners. Of course we love them, but why are you making money here on our turf and the Americans don't have the same opportunities, or we've been conditioned to think we don't have the same opportunities, so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. People are going to have to go home. I don't care if people don't like it. I don't care about you crying that now women's rights are not going to be appreciated. We sound like a bunch of whining babies who are throwing temper tantrums. It doesn't matter if now you're mad that welfare programs are closing because we're doing away with government spending. Now we can't get food stamps. Now you can't get AFDC. Now you're not going to get Section 8. Now nobody's going to placate to you and tell you, oh, because you're brown, you get special benefits, which it really didn't benefit you anyway. It benefited the LGBT community and transgender and the illegal immigrants. You might be upset because now nobody can allow you to kill your own babies through abortion clinics, and the DNA from the children that you sacrificed to Molech and Baal are now being used in blood ritual programs. We sound like a bunch of whining, complaining, upset children who can't get their way because we're so used to sucking on the breast or the tatas of the government. Well, now the government is collapsing. And this is what this all is about, is collapsing. Just like the pictures I show you of the missiles going into the ground, is all caving in. We should be happy that now we'll be able to create our own rituals. We'll celebrate our own family. We'll celebrate our own ethnicities the way we want to. We don't need Michael Luther King. We don't need all of these Harriet Tubman and all of these Nat King, this person, that person, who many people say aren't even real. These were leaders and heroes given to you by the deep state, the cabal, the government. Those have never been my heroes. My hero is my grandmother, Rosa Lucille Pruitt, who was able to keep her marriage together, raise all 10 of her living children, all 100 and something of her grandchildren she helped raise, and many of her great grandchildren. She was a polished woman, an elegant lady. She reverenced her husband. She respected her husband. She knew her role as a woman. She never overtalked him. She never disrespected him. She never had an argument in front of any of us. We never heard them argue. That's my hero. She kept herself made up, polished. She was sweet and pleasant. She was highly feminine, very classy. That was my hero and my role model. Okay. My mom, who raised us to be very independent from the system in terms of not expecting somebody to give you something. You had to work hard for it. That's my hero. My father, who taught me how to love my body, who taught me how to run, taught me how to drink water, taught me how to become a vegetarian and a vegan, taught me how to think highly of myself. My parents, who taught me how to stand erect and have a good posture, speak well, be polished, dress nicely, be pleasant, love all people. Those are my heroes. Why do you need a hero other than yourself and the people in your community? So all of the stuff that we've been given and we've been taught is being collapsed, is colliding, is coming to a screeching halt. White supremacy, again, is an ideology that some people is better than another person, but it wasn't even about Black against white. It's an ideology. And if you tell yourself, I'm better than somebody else, in terms of why I should have this job, then that's what you'll think. And then you have systems in place to keep feeding that in, that was the case. And that's why you had in movies, they would give many women that weren't classified as Black the wife role. They would give her the feminine role. And then a woman that was classified as Black, she was the whore. She was the bed wench. She was the nasty, disrespectful, rude, mean, arrogant, masculine presenting female. They fed us all that through their programming, their musics, their television, and now you see it playing out in reality. But with the destruction of these programs, actually, I'm happy because now you can create the identity that you truly desire. Now we can go back to having male-female relationships. And we can have traditional families. The LGBT community we love, and we have each of them in our family members. But why do you have to have Pride Month? Why do you have to celebrate being with the same sex? Do we have a month to celebrate traditional families? Do we have a month and a celebration of marriages between a man and a woman? All of that is being dismantled, whether we like it or not. Is here, so we need to just go ahead, go use the restroom, honey. Oh, you look gorgeous. I like the jewels on your face, granddaughter. You look like your grandma. Go to the restroom, and then we'll go. Create the reality that you desire to see. At the Pride History Month celebrations, what I saw was a bunch of naked men and women walking around with painted faces and all that stuff. And it was so horrible that I would have to not even go downtown in the cities that I live, because I didn't want my grandchildren to see that. What you do in your bedroom is your business. Even people that I know that's even in my family, and that people that I know that are part of the LGBTQ community, they were upset about seeing naked people parading downtown in the streets, prancing around, showing their tatas and their private parts. I don't want my children to see that. I don't want my children to see public display of sex between man and woman, let alone same sex. We recognize man and woman being in union in this country, in America, and we recognize two genders, male and female. We don't recognize transgenders. And if you're a Christian, I don't understand why you're upset about the elimination of any of those programs. Okay, but this is just Dr. Kia Pruitt talking. This is my perspective. The deep state is ending. Anything dealing with the deep state, whether or not they brought in communists or people from all over the world, different nationalities, different ethnicities, in order to take the resources from the people, the true Americans here, all of that is ending. It's all collapsing, and everything is being restored back to we the people. The republic is being restored. That's why that last crash happened in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That is the capital of the republic for these great United States of America. So that's about it, family. This is the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. This was my perspective of what's going on in the world. Pay attention to what's going to happen with this Super Bowl. We will win. The Chiefs on the land will win, because everything's being returned back to the autogenous original peoples and their American family, the American nationals. This isn't leaving out anybody that's lawfully here. It's not leaving out those of European descent. Again, you were recognized as your own nation. That's a beautiful thing. You have your own history from your own culture, your own countries, and you were allowed to come here and you are recognized. I don't know why people think this is about racism. It's not. It's about returning the greatness of America back to us Americans and making America truly great. So I applaud Donald Trump and the administration and all of those who are working with him, the military and Earth Alliance and all the extraterrestrials that have come back to help humanity. Again, it's a deep state war between the elite, benevolence, and nefarious entities over our psychic and over our resources. But the good guys are winning. And that's why you're going to see the Chiefs win against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. That's it. I love you all so very much. I appreciate you. You mean the world to me. And without you, I wouldn't even matter, because you are the wind beneath my wings. I hope I said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. I have to go, family. My granddaughter is here and it's time to go. Peace and prosperity to everybody. Make this a great day. My granddaughter says bye-bye. You want to say bye? Hurry up. We have to brush your hair before you go, okay? Say bye. Bye-bye. You see the jewels on her face? She wants to look like her granny. Bye, family. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. And thank you for all of you also that sent me a blessing and a gift to my Cash App, $ Mama Kia 13. Peace.